And we're back! Welcome to the Adventure Athletes Podcast. Today we are joined by none other than Logan Nicol, one of the best surfers in Wales, if not the. Although I think Patrick might try to disagree with that one with you. So, give us a bit of background on yourself, Logan, before we get into it.
Yeah, no worries. So, nice to meet you, Will. My name's Logan Nicol. I'm 23, from South Wales, and pretty much dedicated my whole life to surfing.
That does sound like you, doesn't it?
That's pretty much, if I had to summarise my life, that's all I've done.
Waves. Where did you start at?
So I started at 10, did loads of sports when I was growing up, but you kind of go through sport and I guess fitness and stuff, trying to find your way, and I stumbled across surfing when I was a little bit younger actually, but I didn't really start liking it till I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I just started properly going every single weekend at 10.
We've already lost one of the panels.
Yeah. It'll be a good countdown, see how many we lose.
Oh, yeah. They could be like, what was behind door number 1?
Episode. She had some photos behind.
So then you started surfing when you were 10, but before that, as we had a little chat just before the podcast started, so you still do some gymnastics as well.
Yeah, so did loads of sports, kind of football, the team sports at the start, and then realised I'm not really a team player, I ended up shouting at my teammates and not getting on, so moved away from team sports, went to karate. That was a big one. I'm not sure what the association I was with, but I got to black belt. With WCKA, so that was the Welsh Contact Karate Association. It was a little bit more kickboxing based.
Yeah.
I did that, and then went to gymnastics. Was really, really into gymnastics. Kind of eyed up like wanting to be like Commonwealth and go, to compete for Wales, but I wasn't good enough. I got really tall, got quite lanky, and sort of lost the love for that. And it was at that time that I really started liking surfing. So I kind of had to make the decision. I'd be doing gymnastics 4 or 5 times a week, and then I wouldn't be able to surf. So I'd just be in the gym just wanting to go surfing. So I had to make the switch.
So you were quite a diverse dad when you were younger then, before you sort of settled into what you loved. Do you think that kind of period of playing around and trying different sports helped you when you became a surfer?
Yeah, for sure. I think gymnastics especially, like I've always said, if I ever have a kid, it's one of the sports I'd want to get them straight into. It taught me a lot of discipline. Yeah. You get that real, I don't know if you develop it as a kid, but I felt like I had like a good core, good balance. The components of fitness you build up as a gymnast, I think, it's better than any sport will ever give you. In my personal opinion.
I completely agree as a gymnastics coach.
Yeah, I kind of thought you might. There's a lot of sports I respect in terms of the level of fitness you have to have, but it brings in all the components I think gymnastics does. So it was a big one for me, and it just set that foundation then, and I think I've brought that on into my adult life, even though I stopped when I was 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
Other than your physical qualities from the sports, what other sort of qualities do you feel you got from doing those diverse sports that's helped you through life and through surfing?
Yeah, I think that's the reason, unless you're going to try and be a professional at a sport, half of it is about keeping your body fit, but also the things you learn and grow as a person. I think sport teaches you that amazingly. So gymnastics, karate, the kind of contact sports I've done, teaches you a lot of respect. You learn to respect your coaches, other athletes as well. And then with the gymnastics especially, it was discipline, and you're showing up, you're putting in the work. Just the discipline and respect is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gymnasts are going to love that answer. I'm just going to be playing this in the gym non-stop, like, come on boys, get your discipline. Helps you with anything you want to do. Surfing, like, life. Just
totally agree on that, yeah.
And even if it's discipline you don't want to have, I had some pretty tough coaches. Probably the toughest coaches I've ever had were gymnast coaches, and they'll make you be disciplined. Like
I've heard a lot about gymnastics coaches.
Yeah, I used to have a Romanian guy.
Well.
But I had loads of respect for him. But they'd make you cry, and they'd be sitting on your backs trying to make you do stretching and stuff. And it kind of seems unconventional, but you definitely learn as an athlete to be super disciplined and how important that is. I think you don't realise it at the time, but then later on in life I definitely have.
What I'll say about that is that's not common practice anymore.
Is it not?
So we don't push gymnasts, we don't force them to do stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big challenge that's coming in coaching now, is building that discipline while not forcing them to do it, because really you shouldn't have to force them to do it. You're trying to build that love for gymnastics, that they want to come in and be disciplined.
Definitely.
And that's one of the hardest things as a coach.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I coach myself, like surfing wise, and there's only so much you can tell a kid, you know. Some people just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that deep down in gymnastics, I always wanted to do it, you know, the conditioning, the stretch, and I wanted to do it, but sometimes just having that little extra push just to get out of you, it helped me anyway. And I'm not saying it's the right way, and I understand we've obviously come a long way since then, but that was part of my experience, you know. That's what happened to me. But
it's episode 5, and I've only just realised this is yet another coach. I forgot Logan. Yeah. Logan, another coach actually. So this is quite interesting, but from a totally different background again to myself and Will. So that's quite interesting. Then
who was the other coach you had on?
We had Craig on last episode, and he's a
fluidity. Free runner.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay, awesome. So he coaches free running.
Yeah,
that must be that's quite similar to surfing, right? Like as a coach in surfing, anyway, you're dealing with an environment that's constantly changing. And I know free running, you know, maybe you're using the same wall, the same, you know, bar or whatever it is, the same roof, but yeah, you probably won't go back to the same one. You know, you've got a whole city full of different buildings, so you're kind of you're coaching to be dynamic and like different, you know, reacting to different situations, I guess.
Do you find that involvement that you have as a surf coach? Because a lot of people, when they first go surfing, I know I can say this for myself, and you'll probably agree too, is that when you go surfing for the first time, for a lot of people, it's very life-changing.
Yeah.
Does having that kind of that experience within your coaching practice feel like quite a powerful responsibility, that you're kind of potentially like a figure that has that impact on someone in their life?
Yeah, so you're like someone's first introduction to a sport, so you want it to be a positive one, and for me it's like a privilege to be able to like give the gift of surfing. As cheesy as that sounds, you know, you are like opening people's eyes to it, and sometimes I find my job can get a little bit samey, a little bit monotonous, but you get those magic moments when like the light bulb clicks for someone, and then they, you know, and I've seen it. I've worked at the surf school now for nearly 6 years, so I've seen people start with us and then they'll buy a wetsuit, they'll buy a board, they'll buy a T6 van, and they'll come down the beach with their camping stuff, you know. So it's really cool to see the progression of people, and that's what keeps me coming back, and that's what keeps the job enjoyable, you know. So definitely feel like a bit of a responsibility, and that you are changing people's lives for the better as well, which is nice. So,
yeah.
And also, I think one of the best parts for me, we were talking about this the other day, is showing people that they can do something they maybe didn't think they could do before. Yeah. That's one of the best things. Is I way prefer to have someone who didn't think they could do it than like someone who's really good. It's great to teach, you know, competent people, but sometimes when you have someone who thinks, maybe their weight is a bit of a barrier, or I taught a deaf guy the other day, totally deaf, and I was a little bit anxious as a coach myself, but to just overcome that kind of invisible hurdle is like, I think they're the best. I'm sure we can all agree they're the best moments in coaching for sure. So
100%.
There's a little bit of a stigma sometimes with surfing, that it's really hard to like people I could never do that. I know it's a bit more with surfing compared to like you look at something like doing a back squat. I don't see as many people look at that and think I can never squat a barbell, because they kind of get that idea that you get stronger, but they look at riding a wave and they're like, I can never ever do that. Do you think there's like a certain thing that kind of limits people when it comes to surfing with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the opposite with that, right? Like, most people will never be able to back squat properly with correct form and all that, you know? Whereas most people can probably get up on a board, you know? We tell people at the start of, like, all our lessons, like, oh, you know, you might not get up today. Most people don't get up today, but that's usually a lie. Yeah. You know, most of the time, people are standing up their first lesson. And actually, that first 2-hour session will be your quickest learning curve in surfing. After that, it all slows down. It takes ages to progress any further. But and that's the best bit, is because they're going to get, like, an instant, you know, progression, and I can catch a wave. I know how to keep myself safe. I know how to stand up. So even if they don't get to their feet, they leave knowing how to do it. Yeah. So yeah, I think people think they can't do it, but quite quickly they learn, I can, as long as, and that's part of being a good coach. And what I've learned from my boss, who I think's one of the best teachers I've, you know, come across.
This Richard, that's Hugh, isn't it?
Hugh, yeah,
who taught me to surf.
He taught you, yeah. So you know, just the way you break things down, that taught me a lot. And actually, for people, you need to break things down a lot more than when you can do a skill. You just think, just go and do it, you know. And that's how I came to be a surf coach. I was like, just go stand on a board, but it's not that simple, you know.
No.
So yeah, I think I can't remember the question, but
no, it's fine.
That's my answer.
So for you like the idea of breaking it down into sort of like manageable bite-sized chunks that are just so it's like just enough stress that you can kind of keep growing, but not too much that you're like, I really don't know what I'm doing on the board when I hop on.
Yeah, just I think the smaller and the easier you can make things and more digestible for people, because with surfing anyway, you start with a group of 10. So I teach 10 people, and they could all learn at different rates. So you just gotta teach everyone as if they're the same. We tell them what we're doing, we show them what we're doing, then they go and do it. So it's like all the ways people could learn, you try and give that to them. So
Yeah.
I think the smaller and I don't know how you say it, like individualized, or like single things to tell people, rather than telling them to do lots and lots of different things. Just one thing at a time makes a big difference. Yeah, for sure.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think within my own coaching practice, when I'm teaching normally when people come in we have a semi-private training service, so it's like PT in a small group. A lot of people that come in, they're really anxious, nervous. They never picked up a barbell before.
For sure, yeah.
And session number 1, starting with deadlift, quite a foundational movement to get them for any sort of strength training.
Is that what you teach them first? Is a deadlift? Yeah?
Normally deadlift or squat.
Just picking off the floor, right? That's the you're basically just getting the bar.
Really, really simple.
Moving away
but when you actually get into it, it's simple to us, yet to someone who's never done it before, it seems quite complex. Yeah. I know there's a lot of stigma behind things like deadlifting, be like, I'm going to pull my back, but that's that's bad deadlifting. Good deadlifting is the opposite; it should be a stronger back.
Yeah.
But I find exactly the same approach, that it's like we just start with the small things. So we start with like, have you got your posture kind of right first? Have you got your stance right? And then it's like, okay, we'll have a look at where we're looking now. Then we'll have a look at things like the idea of keeping the shoulders from around. Maybe I will. There's a free foam mat there. Keeping the shoulders from rounding. Then we'll have a look at things like the breathing pattern. So it's like compartmentalize, or like chunking it down to little
compartmentalize. That's it.
Steps. Yeah.
But I also think like you said, when you're first teaching someone to pick a barbell off the floor or whatever, it's the same with surfing. And people, I definitely think, go into the gym, and it's quite for someone who maybe has never been in a gym before, the preconceived notions they have of what a gym is like can be quite a barrier. People don't want to go to the gym. You feel like you're going to be silly. You don't want to. Even just standing there with a coach, you feel a bit like, oh, I'm the one who doesn't know what I'm doing. And that can be the same in the sea, People are scared of the sea. I teach people from like Birmingham, they've never even been in the ocean before, so...
It can be a scary place.
Yeah, it can be. And the gym can be too. It's really intimidating. You get people in there that maybe aren't... Even though once you get to know people, everyone's pretty accepting, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think those preconceived notions are a holdback for a lot of people. And I think that's a stigma that is one of the stigmas at the minute hasn't been broken, is... that initial getting people to go do it.
Yeah. Do you think going into the right place for your first experience in a particular sport field is really key to that as well?
I think that's the make or break, isn't it? I think when people have a bad first time, they don't want to do it anymore. Like if you go ice skating, you hit the deck straight away, you're never going to want to go ice skating again.
Yeah.
So I think that initial experience, which is what we get to give people, is a really... like I said, it's a really important thing.
It made me think, as Will was saying earlier, about how the gymnastics coaching practice has changed quite a lot from like an ethical standpoint, with kind of forcing people into the splits, like how that could really deter a kid that started now versus how the practice has evolved.
Yeah, and you see that a little bit in surfing. So what I think is has changed a little bit in our sport is the kind of it's the cool kids club. So you walk into a surf shop, you feel like, maybe the guys don't talk to you, or you've got to be cool to be here. And I think that eradicating that as much as you can, That's
why I became a surf photographer, so I don't have to be good at surfing now. Be friends with everyone.
I'm not super woke or anything, but I think just the inclusivity is just so important, just not making people feel like they shouldn't be there, or they're not good enough to be there, or, not treating everyone like they're idiots basically when they walk in, which is what I used to be like. I used to walk into a surf shop and it'd be real clicky. That's the word, clicky.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
Do you think there's still a bit of clickiness on certain breaks?
Of course there is, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I felt it just coming from Penarth, coming from a town that isn't a surf town at all.
Yeah.
45 minutes for me to drive, and I still live there. So I had to break into those cliques, and luckily I love the sport so much that I didn't really care if I had friends who did it. I just wanted to do it. But I'm sure for some people it is a big barrier,
And now in Wales, you're probably one of the most well-known and sort of recognisable surfers.
I mean, I've got a lot of friends all over Wales, and once you get to know people, it is a really nice community to be a part of. These are dropping like flies.
They are. This is quite entertaining, actually. If you're watching the video, you're going to have quite a time just watching all the foam mats dropping off the ceiling, being well taped up.
I'm going to blame Taylor on this because he brought the sticky adhesive. That's not that sticky.
That's all they had in Tesco's, I'm sorry.
Something I did want to ask is, obviously surfing is very much based on the environment and the different conditions. Like, how do you deal with that as an athlete? Because you can't always predict what the waves are going to do. You can't be like, wow, I'm really in the mood for surfing today, and then you go out and it's just dead.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that as an athlete and use that sort of in a way that's going to help you progress?
So do you know what? You couldn't have asked me at a better time, because we were in a 3 weeks flat spell. Right?
Yeah.
So I haven't surfed for 3 weeks. And it can be, for me anyway, it's my job, you know.
Yeah.
Like, half my job is the coaching, and the other half, it comes from my sponsors, comes from performing and being a better surfer. So definitely has a bit of an effect on my mental, not health, but well-being, you know, just how positive I am day to day. I'm a little bit more grouchy when I don't get to surf. It's be like if you guys don't get to train.
Yeah.
But for me, just being disciplined, having the gym there, I've got a really good program, and I can message my coach Mike and just say, look, there's no waves, any chance I could have, you know, more volume, more sessions to keep me occupied. But it's one of those sports, you have to make hay when the sun's shining, you know, like when there's waves, you gotta get in the water, and my training will come down when there's waves, and I'll surf 3 times a day, you know, as much as I can. And going abroad helps, you know, gonna go away, more consistency and better waves too. But yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one to balance it all.
So how do you bring yourself to train when waves are really good but you're just not feeling it, or you might be fatigued because you've had a 3 week break, and then you've got a week of just solid waves and you want to make the most of it but also not burn out? How do you balance it?
Yeah, so I kind of allow my coach to do a lot of the hard work when it comes to my programming. You know, I don't self-program at all. It's all in an app for me. I just turn up to the gym like an idiot and just do what's on there, you know, which is perfect for me.
That's the best way sometimes to do.
Yeah, so I just stay in good contact with my coach. I think any good S&C, if you're paying good money, will do that for you and can tailor around. But I think listening to my body has been really important. You know, I'm a professional athlete, so I've got to push myself. But I don't like surfing sore. I hate surfing sore. So it's a fine line for me between being able to perform in the sea fatigued and then not training at all. Because you still got to train.
So we're actually developing our own with our programs. At least I'm actually doing a surfing one. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to factor in for that was the flexibility to be able to choose how frequently to train depending on swell. Because it's all well going, here's the 3-day-a-week training program for surfing, but then you have a week where it's absolutely pumping, you want to get out, and then you have a week where it's flat for 3 weeks that we've got now, we've got quite a lull, and it's like, well, I actually want to train more now. It's bounce, and that's quite tricky. For
sure. So I think for me, in these more recent years, the last year really, I've been maybe sacrificing, let's say, you know, I've got a week of waves, I'll sacrifice a couple of days of the week to maybe just surf once and then train in the evening. Yeah. So just picking my battles, and because of the benefits I found training has had on my performance in my sport, and you know, the prevention of injury and stuff like that. I do think it's really beneficial. So I try and make sure I'm in the gym. But if there's waves, like you said, you're gonna go surfing. So a good way which my coach Mike he's developing an app, you know, similar to a lot of the other training ones. But I said to him, just put in there so that I can log my surf, so you can see how much I'm surfing, and you can see, you know, okay, and he can then tell me, okay, you can hold back on your training a little bit if you're surfing that much. So it's a big part, because if you give someone a training plan, you go, here you are, here's your 5 days a week, and then they're surfing as well, actually, the volume is way higher than what it was. So it's a hard balance. It's a hard. So you're saying
you sort of liaison with Mike about trying to agree on not agree, but he'll help you kind of judge what's a good healthy volume for you to train versus surfing. Is there any sort of tools or methods or systems used for actually testing yourself to see how good you are, how fresh you are?
Do you know what, the freshness wise, I've just come on with Mike like full time, so we did some testing at the start, as anyone would do, like for the start of a block. But we've had this 3 week since I come back from being away. We've had this 3 week flat spell, so it's been a perfect time for us just to like we've been smashing the strength at the minute since I've been home. So we haven't had that time where I need to go, oh, I'm tired or I'm not.
Yeah.
But the good thing is he's a surfer as well, so he gets it. You know, he gets it. If I'm I surf with him often, so. I'm hoping he'll be able to rein me in when I need to be reined in and things like that. But with my previous, the guy who's previously coaching me, and he's still Alan Bissica, who's...
Was that guy I met down at the...
That's him, yeah. So he's kind of overseeing Mike doing my plan.
Yeah.
With him, it was a lot more just... He trusts that I know my body and to feel it out and to let him know if I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling fatigued. And I think he said for him, as a coach to me, it was about reining me back and trying to slow me down at times just because recovery is important, right?
So he trusted you to kind of judge yourself, whereas Mike is a bit more hands-on.
Exactly, and because I can train with him, like I in the gym with him twice a week with him. Yeah. There as a PT basically.
I've seen his stories. It looks quite cool.
It's really good, man. I think you'd love. I think you both.
I would. I was watching. I want to hop in there. It looks fun.
I can't speak highly enough of Mike, and he's really open to experimentation. And that's nice, it's nice, and he takes all the thinking out of it for me, which is just perfect for me. I don't like thinking too much. I don't like using my brain too much.
I want to ask you, bring back to mindset a bit now, because I notice this quite often when we go down, remember the Freshwater West one, the Billabong one. I think Jay Quinn almost killed me in the water.
That was it. Yeah. I got second that year.
Yeah, and you went
kind
of pre-event, like you sat there on your own and you got your headphones in on the sand, like. Take us through what kind of thing do you do to kind of get yourself in that mindset to prepare for performing?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, before any heat, like you kind of know, like that is the 20 minutes that you've been training for. You've been putting on all this hard work. You've been waking up early. So it's definitely since that contest, I've changed a lot of the ways I kind of prepare for heats.
Yeah.
But I don't know, everyone's different. Back then it was more just like listen to some good music, getting myself hyped up. I just want to go surf really well. Whereas now I'm trying to relax and take myself back a little bit. I had some issues recently with just feeling really nervous before heats and, it really underperforming because I'm holding myself back with my performance. So that's something that at the minute I'm still working on. And still experimenting with what to do before those heats. Do I listen to music and just shut everyone else out, or do I just enjoy my environment and take everyone in and just have a laugh and keep it light-hearted, which is the kind of approach I'm doing at the minute. Is just trying to not take things too seriously. And I think I've been playing around with it, but for most athletes it's just about getting in the zone, just thinking about the task at hand, and where you're going to surf, where you're going to sit, what waves have been good, what the judges have been scoring. So these things are kind of going through your head before the heat, but I think just before you go in, you just want to be as present as possible. I think the presence...
Present's a good word. Of
course it is, in the sea you have to be aware of what's going on, where the waves are coming in and stuff like that. So
I need to spot this one going now, I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
So
don't break.
With presence, is that something that you sometimes have to force when you're surfing? Is it something you're like conscious of in like daily training? Like how do you approach being present?
I think when the waves are bad, so it used to be I'd go surfing every time and I would be in there for 2 hours and I just you know what it's like when you surf. Time goes by, you get out, you go, oh my god, I've been in there for an hour and a half, felt like 10 minutes. Now I surf every day if there's waves, I surf so much. You kind of have to force that discipline a little bit to be there. So in the training anyway, I don't always want to be in the surf, I'm kind of trying to give myself a bit of a focus. I'm not just going in, just catching waves. I'm thinking, right, I want to work on this, or I'm trying to work on something. It's really easy to be present when the waves are good, because all you're thinking about is like getting your next amazing ride or whatever, So I think presence whilst the whole 2 hours, your whole surf, your 2 hours, that's like a practice, working at that is good. But when you're on the wave, it's almost impossible to not be present, because it's such a intense flow state that you're in, and that's the addiction, right? Is you're addicted to that feeling. It's pretty hard to like think of your troubles at home or anything when you're on the wave, and that's what keeps everyone going back. That's the thing.
I agree on that. For me, I mean, I picked up surfing actually. It was just after my parents split up, so for me that was quite a powerful tool at the time.
Yeah.
I I'm quite into meditation, but I find a lot of the time these days, for me, my meditation takes on the form of actually doing a sport. And I think I really came from surfing for myself.
Yeah, definitely, because it's hard. When you do something over and over and over, at the start, it's like a drug, right? It's like you only need like a little bit at the start, and you get really high, and you need more and more and more. So I think the actual act of going surfing isn't always... I'm not always present when I'm surfing. I can let my mind does wander sometimes, but then when I'm on a wave, it's always that intense, and it is amazing. But the thing I use as a tool for myself is to give myself a focus when I'm surfing. So using a time restraint, going right 20 minutes now. I'm just gonna not pump. I won't pump for 20 minutes, and that gives me a focus to think about in the water, trying to find those waves. So I've just adapted my surf to be present, because that's the feeling I'm chasing. Even though it's my job, still have to enjoy doing it. So.
And there's something to be said about when you go in the water as well, the lack of distractions you take out there with you.
Definitely. And like you said about the photos and stuff, when you have a photographer on the beach, and again, that's a massive part of my job, is getting content, getting photos and stuff. That can take away your presence, because you're thinking, I've fallen off every wave and stuff like that.
Well, not trying to kill me when I'm in the water.
Yeah, if you're in the water, watching out for your helmet and stuff. So, yeah, definitely.
Any questions, Will?
I'm a bit of a layman to surfing, so...
It's all good. I'm the same with free running. I'll pick your brains about that if you want.
I've never been surfing, so I'm just fascinated by, like, the approach, like, how do you get into it, the mindset behind it. I'm just not good in the water in general, so...
He's a land mammal.
Yeah.
How... do you, like, get people surfing that aren't the best swimmers?
For sure, yeah. So that's a prerequisite to our lesson, is you don't have to swim.
Yeah.
You never go out deeper than your waist at the start, So, it is obviously a water sport, and the more you get into it, you will eventually have to be comfortable in slightly deeper water. But the good thing is you're with a surfboard, right? So you're with a big thing that floats, and that's good. But it's a good way to push yourself, is to go and do a sport that you're not comfortable in the environment in,
Yeah.
I've been finding that recently, like just trying other stuff and learning about other sports and activities has been
Such
really
as?
good for me. Climbing, really, I did that a bit over winter and just like quite enjoyed the process and the fact that it is, I kind of was breaking it down, and I think it's totally different to surfing. Surfing is like a reactive sport, so you take off on a wave, every single wave is different. There's no wave that's the same.
Yeah.
You're reacting to what the wave does. It could have a different section, it could close out, could be a bigger one, could be a smaller one. Whereas climbing is the exact opposite. You know exactly how the wall is, you can see it, you stand there, you kind of read the wall, you have a few goes. So it's a total different kind of challenge. Although I did find there were certain things that were similar about it. I enjoyed that. So I enjoy challenging myself in different ways.
It shares that kind of flow state as well.
That's it. That's the thing that's similar, is that flow state. And you get that when you're on the wall, you can't really think about much. Although even your mate might be like, put your foot there or whatever,
Yeah.
You are still in a bit of a flow
You kind of
state.
can't hear it, can you? You're like, shh.
Yeah. And you're breathing, you're kind of thinking. But it's very controlled climbing, where I think surfing's a little bit more expressive. And
Yeah.
Was you doing, like, indoor climbing
just bouldering, just like,
Because, like, outdoor
standard.
climbing's, like, a little bit different, and it depends what style of climbing you're doing as well. Like, bouldering is very much like, it's just... you do these moves, and it's so like very specifically technical. Like you're saying, it's not reactive at all. It's like, this is that's the move, you just do that and it's done. Whereas like if you're going on route climbing or like trad climbing, especially where you're putting the gear in the wall yourself to attach the rope to, then it's like you have to find it. And everyone's finding different pieces until you get to like the top end, and then it's like, no, you can only put a bit there.
For sure, but I did find like everyone climbs a wall differently. And that's the same with a wave, right? Everyone surfs a wave differently. Just people's bodies move different. So like I go climbing with Mike, he's 6'6".
Yeah.
He can make, he can reach for holds that probably weren't even meant to be reached for on that route, but he can do it. But then also I'd be able to like bend my arm in a different way, and he'd be like, I can't do that, like so.
We got quite interesting when we're going, don't we? Where like. You got the reach, but I got the mobility.
Okay,
I'll get my head up somewhere, and he's like, what the fuck?
People's hips move different, and for sure. And you see like tiny, skinny kids, or like small, really petite women who fly up a wall like a spider, and you're like, how can I do that, So, and that's the same with surfing, right? You see like 8-year-old kids just absolutely tearing, and you see you know, I don't know, businessmen who like run a successful business and they can barely stand up. So it's the great equalizer. I think all sport is like a really good equalizer.
Yeah.
I love that about.
Is there any sort of like body type that suits surfing? Because I obviously know climbing, you've got to have like the ape index.
That does help then, yeah.
Things like that.
I mean, it sounds obvious, right? But I don't really know what the climbing like. You know, what's the ideal body for climbing? But there probably is one for surfing. There is and there isn't. You think like short, stocky, you know, low center of gravity, and at the start that definitely helps you. But we're seeing now, like in surfing, the trend is going a little bit more towards the bigger guys, the stronger guys. Just what's scoring in the judging criteria. There's a lot of world champs over 6 foot now.
How big's Mick McFarlane?
Yeah, I don't think he's the tallest. I think he's like maybe like average.
He's got
Average height
bulky
is a
as well,
good
isn't
height. Yeah, and he's pretty strong, you know. And like those top guys, John Florence, he's like 6'2".
Yeah.
Geordie Smith, 6'3".
Kelly?
Owen White was 6'3". Kelly's 5'10".
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I always wanted to be 5'10", and then I got taller, and I was like, you know.
Oh,
I always say my ideal height would be 5'11". I'm like 6'0" and a half.
I'm sure you hate being that tall now. Yeah.
People say that all the time. I think, honestly, 5'11", because you're tall, but you're like you're not too gangly.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, the trend is now like there's loads of guys over 6 foot on tour, which years ago you would have thought, no way, you know.
I think that's quite cool with surfing as well. Same as climbing, that you get different styles that suit different types. So you got like longboarding, shortboarding, different divisions, different board types.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Yeah.
Different types of board.
Oh, loads of different types.
Oh mate, you got a whole world to uncover. You're gonna love it. This is your calling, I reckon. You're gonna love
We'll be going surfing next week.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
If the waves allow, of course.
Yeah, I'm itching to go, and it's the worst time to itch.
It's literally right when there's no waves. But yeah, that's the thing I like about surfing is it's your own thing. I like individual sports. I like that it's anything that happens is my fault. It's my responsibility. It's all on me. Same in a heat, you know. Even though there is the ocean and all that, like the decisions I make affect the outcome.
Yeah.
But that's the same with anyone surfing. You know, you go surfing, you can ride what board you want, you can surf what waves you want. You know, you can catch as many waves you want, as few waves. It's all down to you. So I love that individuality.
I agree with that, but I've heard many people in the water not agree with that. When they're playing the board, the wetsuit, the waves,
or that you can't catch as many waves as you want.
Yeah,
they disagree with that too.
I totally agree with that. When I'm in any of my train sessions, if I love having that just printed out. I'll design my programs myself, but then I'll print them out. Apart from recently, because when the AI is programming a train at the moment, which is quite interesting.
No way, you got ChatGPT to do it, is it?
Yeah. It was Nova, wasn't
program,
it?
Yeah.
Nova's programmed it for us, which is quite interesting. But I like printing my program out and taking it in so I can write on it. And whenever I mess anything up in my training, I'm straight and investigating it, being like accountable, and I'm trying to pinpoint what I've messed up myself in my own routine. It's like, have I just not slept enough? Have I like messed up my lifestyle in some way that's affected like my nutrition? Maybe my nutrition's been really bad for like a fortnight.
Is this if you have a bad session now?
Yeah, like I get straight on it. Like, what have I done that's impacted this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, yeah, you get that with surfing.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes there's that X factor that you just don't know. You know, like
Do you think when you have those moments that like learning to have a little bit of acceptance for yourself is quite important too?
Yeah, for sure. And I've struggled with that a lot. You know, if you're having a bad day, I'm like, why am I having a bad day?
Most athletes do.
Yeah, definitely. I had it actually in Bali. I was away. My friend drove over from the other side of the island, so I was like, yeah, I'll go for a surf with you 6 in the morning. I'm always good with mornings. I'm like a total morning person. Love the morning. Woke up at 6, not even that early. Went surfing, and I couldn't surf. I couldn't surf for the life of me. Like, I literally was like was beginning. You know, I couldn't do a turn. I was super groggy. I had to go back to bed, and I couldn't accept. I was like, why am I having a bad day? So that's part of being an athlete, right? Is just accepting that you're not always going to be 100%.
Yeah.
But when you need to be 100%, that's when you have to learn what your body needs, what it wants to.
Yeah.
You know, to time it to be it when you need it. You know.
It's quite hard because there's that duality of trying to learn to read your own body, but then there are those days where you can't trust your own perception sometimes. Because you have days where like, I feel really good, and you go into the gym and it's like the session's like okay or below average.
Yeah.
And those days where like, I feel like death, and you walk in the gym and you set new PBs.
For sure, it's often like that in surfing. What I find with that is when I'm getting filmed, if I think I'm surfing really good, often I'll go in, and because my expectation, I'm like, yeah, I've just been ripping in there, I've been surfing so good. Look at the video, and I'm like, oh, great, really disappointed. And sometimes I'll be surfing thinking I'm not having a good surf. I go in and I look at the clips, and I'm like, oh, I was surfing all right. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to self-analyze, you know, self-assess yourself. So.
The power of video with training is like insane. Like,
I think it's massive.
Recommend it for anyone doing any sport is get videos of you training. Not only, like you're saying, is it changes your perception of like how you feel you've done.
Yeah.
But it'll also give you like technical reminders that you wouldn't think of otherwise.
Definitely. I think video's a massive one, and the first time you see yourself on video will always be the worst, because it's like, oh my god, I look like that. My body looks like that when it moves and stuff. But and that's the thing with surfing. Like most people say, if you want to enjoy surfing, don't film yourself.
Yeah.
Because you think you're doing one thing, and then on the video you're like, oh my god, my arms were doing this, and for the listener, I was lifting my arms up crazily.
Yeah.
But it's the quickest way to improve, because the next surf you can nearly guarantee that you'll tighten everything up, and you'll have a real like purpose to your actions. I guess that's what it's called. Like you'll be thinking about what you're doing way more than if you hadn't seen yourself before. So you're conscious. That's it. You're more conscious.
What's that in terms of the classic using mirrors in gyms versus video? Because they're two different things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you get that instant feedback with a mirror.
Yeah.
I train in front of a mirror all the time. Because sometimes it's like almost a safety thing for me. Like someone's done it off a spot or whatever. So that instant feedback of done a good rep. You can also see like your speed. I think for me anyway. Like I can see I got up nice and quick. Whereas otherwise you're just doing that by feel.
But
I'm doing that because I've been squatting a bit recently.
But isn't developing that, like the actual feeling of it, quite important as well? Because there's no mirrors out in the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a bit of feel, but you also learn if you can film yourself or you see yourself in a mirror. But I think filming's really good.
Yeah.
You learn what that feeling that you're feeling looks like.
Yeah.
So it is about feel, but it's about if you're just feeling, oh, this feels great, but actually your back's bent like that.
You're gonna be
but you don't know it. It feels good. That's no good, right? So
you're gonna kind of be aware of what it is you're feeling and what you're looking for.
Yeah. So what the feeling is and what that feeling looks like. Yeah. And if it, because maybe you think it's feeling good, but actually if you just straightened your back while you're doing a squat, it's way better. So I think.
Remember we were saying earlier about having like just enough stress with trying to get people to learn. I found that sometimes with like how many things you focus on when you train as well. So recently I made an effort to really improve my weightlifting because it was good enough for CrossFit box, which means it was not good.
Okay, yeah.
But,
that's all I stand on is CrossFit box.
There's some really good weightlifters in CrossFit box, so I'm joking. But I found for me that videoing myself was really powerful if I really switched off the fact that I was videoing myself and just focused on how I felt in my body, and then watched back and seen, well, if that felt there, this is actually what was happening in my body, versus, can I rely on that? Do I need to switch off to that?
For sure. And I'm the exact same as you. Some people will thrive under that, but I'm the same. Like, if I surf and I know there's a camera on the beach, I'm thinking about that camera and I'm thinking about, I got to be perfect. Whereas, actually, if you're just going into something really just in the moment, like we said, present, you're not thinking about, I'm filming myself, I need to have perfect form or whatever.
Yeah.
That's, super. I'm just going to have the whole podcast in my arms like that.
Yeah, just sat like this. My arm's going to be stuck like that, yoke.
But I think that presence of mind is super important.
Yeah.
And when you get in video, that's how you're going to be true to... You almost need someone just sneakily videoing you.
Yeah, you do. Try a surprise.
Yeah, just get in the back of some girl's Instagram video in the gym.
Yeah. That's me there.
Yeah. Wake it up, my phone looks alright. Yeah.
For you then, do you have a question, sorry?
No, crack on.
So we were saying presence a lot, and we talked about it in the context of when you're actually on the face of the wave, when you're out the water, even when you just sat at the back sometimes having a chill, you can feel it. But how do you find that presence that you develop in sport actually translates over into your day-to-day life?
I think it works both ways. So
I
remember being told by a coach, maybe even just a couple of years ago actually he's like, I know how you'll surf by the way you act on land. So if you're like super erratic, your energy's really high or whatever, you talk really quick, that's how your surfing will look. Whereas you see a lot of people who talk really calm and their movements are calm as well. So I think that presence in sport, and the most present that I am is when I'm on a wave.
Yeah.
The way you are on that wave translates into your life. And obviously you learn lots of life lessons outside of sport too, but learning to be present. There's lots of philosophical lessons the ocean teaches you, like life comes in waves and things like that. No waves are the same, they're all different. So you learn to take those things into your everyday life. And I think surfing is a great thing to do that with. Although I also Also, it is great. I do think surfing's a very selfish sport, and I think that when you actually look at what surfing is and the rules around surfing with like other people, there's surfing etiquette. So you can't just have any wave you want in the sea, right? There's like a hierarchy and stuff. All that people are out to do in the sea is to get as many waves as they can for them.
Yeah.
And like a few of the boys I know, they're dropping on people and they go, well, as long as I'm happy, that's all I'm in here for.
Yeah.
So there's some parts of surfing that actually like maybe aren't the best, like life lessons. It can be a bit greedy, a bit selfish, but I think if you can realise that, take a step away and try and not partake in that, there's a lot of good lessons that you can learn. I mean, all sport has their ups and their good and bad, you know, but...
I was going to say, to get to, like, any high level of, like, any sport, there's always going to be those negative qualities that you have as a person, and I don't think enough
100%.
people talk about that. Like, you have to be selfish.
Yeah.
You have to dedicate a lot of time to yourself that you can't spend with other people. I always think about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, he gave up loads of his family life to then go and play basketball to the best level he could because he wants to be the best.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like, selfish qualities you have to be the, like, top level athlete that people just don't realise.
Yeah, call them sacrifices, call it selfish, whatever. When you love a sport, and I think like to be good at anything, you have to really love it.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't realise how selfish I was, and like how much I wanted just to go surfing, and I didn't care that it was someone's birthday. I didn't care anything. I just was like, I want to go surfing. I want to get better at surfing. That's literally all I care about, and I still do. You know, I'm a little bit more aware of it, but it's a massively selfish endeavor is to try to be your best self in like especially an individual environment. At least like with a team sport, you can have that when you're doing this selfish endeavor, you're thinking of other people.
Yeah.
But it can be an individual sport can be really, really like you're self-critical, you're hypercritical of everything you do. You block other people out because if it's not towards that end goal, which I have a lot, you know, if something isn't towards my end goal, I just don't care. I just won't do it. And it's not because I'm trying to be really disciplined. It's because I just don't care, you know, I just don't care about those things. So, you have to be selfish to be at a high level in sport. But I think as long as you're aware of that and the people around you are aware and they understand, it can be a healthy thing. But there's definitely... people don't understand that sometimes.
Do you think that has had quite a big impact on your own mental health?
Yeah, for sure. It's tricky, right? Because I've been super lucky with my mental health. I've always had this thing of surfing that's kept me grounded, kept me present, and like I've lent into that at times of like, you know, feeling down. It's really, really been there. And I know I've had a lot of friends who maybe haven't had their thing. You know, like in school, like that was my thing. People used to make fun of me. I was never one of the cool kids in school, but I just didn't care because I just had surfing.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends who didn't have anything, and I saw them, you know, suffer a lot because they didn't have their thing. So I realised how lucky I am to have had surfing. I know like the selfish side, like sacrificing those friendships that, you know, I don't really have any friends from school because I just didn't care. I just wanted to go surfing, and surfing was 45 minutes from where I went to school, so I wasn't going to hang out with them, you know. Maybe those things have slightly affected me, but the selfish side has made me do what I want to do as a person, you know. That's just what I want to do. So in a way, it's made me really... I've got a lot of enjoyment from it. I've got friends now who are like-minded and they want to surf and they want to live this... It's not just surfing. It's an outdoors lifestyle. I'm at the house all day. I'm in the sun. It's quite a healthy sport. Which it's been really... You know, I've just been lucky that I've fallen into a sport like that. So, it has affected it. But I think I've had much more of a positive... impact. Surfing's had a more positive impact on me than has
outweigh the negatives, do you mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Everyone has their down days, you know, like for sure I feel down sometimes, and it's hard, you know. I think life's hard, isn't it? But surfing helps. Surfing helps me. It's kind of a little bit of my medicine almost, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So when did you sort of realise that you could make surfing your job, and like how did you go about it? Did it change anything for surfing for you?
So me and my best mate, we always say this, that we were like super deluded. So since I was 10, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a pro surfer. I just was like, yeah, I'm good enough. And I wasn't good enough. I was like, if you looked at all the kids I grew up with, I was the worst. I was not, well, I wasn't the worst, but I definitely was nowhere near the best, you know. I never won a contest when I was, before I was 18, you know. Just was not a good junior. But I just had it in my head. I just was like, I really love this and I'm going to make it my job, you know. So just kind of, probably when I was 18, I left school and I still was super deluded. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make it my job. I was working at the surf school, and just really driven of like, how can I make this my job? And with surfing, it's all about sponsorship, like a lot of other sports, but surfing is literally just sponsorship. That's how you make your money.
Yeah.
So just fell into some good sponsors, and sponsors I still have today. And you learn along the way that it's a lot about relationships as well. So I think when I started making those relationships and had those first people give me those first opportunities, that was when it clicked, and I went, oh, actually, you know, this could actually be my job. So probably around the age of 18, it didn't really change surfing for me. It was always a love. I loved it before anything else. I just knew I wanted to do it every single day, all day. So but yeah, I don't think it changed it that much. I just really lucky. I just love it, and I even love the bits that other people wouldn't love, you know. So I don't mind if I have to go and have an obligation for a sponsor, because that's something I dreamed of. Do you know what I mean? So all these things that maybe other people wouldn't enjoy, I enjoy because that's what I wanted. I signed up for it. So
when you first got sponsored, you got your first sponsorship deal. Did you feel like you had to train harder? Did anything in your training change? Did something switch where it was like, I have to like go to the next level? Or was you just like that obsessed before that you was like, no, it's like this, just keep doing what I'm doing?
I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. My own 15-year-old, you know, took my own horn when I was that age, but I was really dedicated. I had that discipline more than it. Apart from me and my best mate Pat, he's the only other person I can think who works as hard, or maybe he works harder than me, you know, because I was just like, this is what I want to do. So when I finally got it, I was like, oh, finally someone's realising that I'm worth it, you know, because I was working really, really hard just because I wanted to before that. And it was when I was 18, that's when I first got paid. First time I paid contract. It wasn't much, like a few grand a year, but to me I was like, that's massive, you know, like someone's paying me because of my surfing ability. And that was like a huge like pat on the back of like, yeah, you're worth it. And that I've had lots of those throughout my career of like, yeah, you are worth it, or yeah, you are good enough. And that kind of spurs you on to the next moment that you get. So I think I was working pretty hard before, and I just try and work even harder now, because you do feel, like you said, like there's a bit of an obligation, you know, someone's backing you, and you want to represent them as well as you can. So I feel that more with my country. Yeah, I feel like pretty proud to be Welsh, pretty proud to be from South Wales as well. So yeah, anytime like I have someone who's maybe a big name from Europe in a heat, or I beat someone big, I get really emotional, you know, because I'm like, if this guy could see where I came from and the stuff I've had to do, it's pathetic. He should never lose to me. You know? So anytime I beat someone, I'm just like, he should be crying, you know, because he should never have lost to a kid from Penarth. You know what I mean? As I always think, and that spurs me on a lot. So just to work even harder than everyone else.
So you started with the dream and the conviction, but say someone else was not in your position necessarily, like I want to be the best surfer in Wales or Britain or the world, but they have another passion or project they want to achieve. What would be your first sort of advice to them to start off?
I think the main thing, and I think the thing that's the hardest, and I'm sure we can all attest to this, is caring what other people think. It's the biggest thing, especially in this day and age where everyone's judging you online. You just seem to all you see is like the hateful stuff or the negative stuff, and people saying no. So I think the biggest thing is trying to do your best to understand that this path you're on is your path, and you don't have to worry about what anyone else thinks. Their opinion literally doesn't matter. One of the best quotes I heard recently is you'll never see a hater doing better than you. You'll never see someone who hates on you or like puts you down doing better than you are doing, because that's just not how the world works, you know. So I think trying to, even if you're not a positive person, just try and be positive about what you're doing, because if it's your passion, it will take you to where you need to be, you know. So I think just being really passionate, having that kind of like tunnel vision of knowing where you're going and like being confident in that. I doubt myself all the time. I have self-doubt all the time, but because I love surfing, I have this thing I love. That's my guide all the time. It's like, that's what I love to do.
I think what you're saying though is like a bit of a double-edged sword, because I know for me, I know I definitely care what other people think of me.
So do I.
But then the way that I deal with it is, instead of just trying to put the blinders on and shutting everything else out and being like, no, this is my thing, I got to do it, which I do sometimes, but what I do more is I'll try and just surround myself with people that are doing better than me.
Yeah.
Because it's not only that I care about what people are saying about me and being like negative, but also like the people that are being positive around me. Like, it's caring in both ways, so you got to take that sort of like, these people,
for sure,
but also thinking of it like maybe they've got something to it and dealing with it. And then as well being like, if they don't, right, just fuck off basically. And then also just coming in and being like, I'm going to surround myself with like-minded people that are better than me, so I'm more encouraged to push to that next level.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point, right? Because as much as we all say we don't care what people think, you do care. You can't just switch that off, right?
Yeah.
You have to try. You have to try to like not let that affect you like deep down. But I also think that those negative comments can be like gold sometimes. You know, like I remember things people said to me when I was 14. Still have them in my head. I know the things people have said to me that I'll never do well outside of Wales. You know, I remember it. I've got these quotes in my head, and they drive me all the time. You know, so I think that like it's a great point. You know, sometimes that can spur you on, and
not so much not caring, but you, because you said you'll still will care, but change your perspective around it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah, I just think taking things in the right way. The things that people say, but also sometimes there's just people are just negative to be negative, you know. They maybe it's a jealousy thing, maybe it's they just don't understand. And I'm sure with what you boys are doing with the adventure athlete stuff, like, and I get it all the time. I'm in the gym jumping around like a monkey, and I go to like, you know, a bit of a roid ed gym, and everyone's like, what the hell is this kid doing, you know? But
that's why I have a home gym.
That's it. I wish I did.
That's why I train a load of Brad.
but at the same time, I also. My end goal is so important. I don't even have an end goal, but just what I want is so much more important to me than what these people think. Yeah. It outweighs it. I just think I don't care. I want what I want so bad that.
I remember I got one. I was running. This was when it was snowing a few months ago.
Yeah.
I was running down Porthkerry, and I literally just had a pair of shorts on, like nothing else. And I was going through a bit of the valley where there's a road, and there happened to be one car going through. I had my headphones on, but they rolled the window down. They're like, "Put your top on, you fucking wanker!" And I was like, for me, it was like I went down the woods so no one else would be around, and I could run without that. Without having everyone else there topless, because some people are a bit weird about it. But for me, it was like I just wanted cold exposure. I wanted that extra stress to kind of harden not just my body but my mindset around discomfort and pain. Because for me, a big side of my training isn't just how much you tolerate in the gym, but it's all the other stresses like cold exposure, dealing with the heat, dealing with the like external conditions of change, which I'm sure you understand a lot with surfing too.
It's mental. That's mental conditioning too, and even like a guy shouting at you out of a car. That's not nice to hear, is it? You know, someone just yelling at you, but that toughens you up. You know,
it does.
And you've remembered that quote. You remember that time.
Yeah, it makes me laugh.
Exactly, for sure. But at the same time, I just when things like that happen or like negative things happen, I just think I try and like put myself in their shoes. And I think, there they are in their heated car, you know, just sitting down. They probably just had a McDonald's.
That's just thinking.
They do nothing, you know, like I said, you'll never see a hater doing better than you. They're not out there running with their top off. So I just try and just flip it and flip those negative things and just, or even if you just let it burn away inside you, you know. Like,
yeah. Well, it was just fuel to run harder then. Because I was coming up to a big hill and I just sprinted the whole thing. And I was like, when I thought about it, I was like, he sat there in pure comfort and he was like, fairly overweight dude as well. So, and I was like, you know, why are you actually shouting? Is it because you actually think that someone running around topless is a wanker?
No.
Or is it because the contrast between the extreme of comfort you're in, sat in the car with aircon and windows up, and you probably just got like a pumpkin spice latte or something, and then someone around literally in a pair of shorts and the snow topless, is that total contrast that it gives you that little bit of discomfort because it highlights possibly some negatives when you're in lifestyle or comfort zone.
Yeah, and think that just made him feel better for that minute. He just thought, I'm insecure about the fact that you're running with your top off or whatever in the cold and I'm not doing that, so he just thought, oh, might as well put you down, and that for someone to have that mindset's pretty disgusting, pretty nasty, so I just think that's the thing, and it's experiences like that, like I said, like where people's entry to sport as a coach, you are a negative. Let's say that was someone's first run with their top off, or let's say someone was just running and they were a little bit overweight and someone shouted things out of the car. That could have a massive negative impact on someone who maybe isn't quite there yet. So I just think people need to be a bit more careful of just not be sensitive to people. There's a time and a place, isn't there? But I think that's what I say when I say don't care what people think, is taking what people say and taking it in the right way, because people are always going to be negative, so you have to not care what that guy thought in a way, but you can use what people say, in my opinion, so
I really try and think about why they would have said it. Where's that come from them?
Exactly.
What's happened in their life that's made them uncomfortable in that situation, or made them uncomfortable with seeing you do something a certain way that's triggered them.
Often it's just different.
Be something.
It's just like because you're different, like you ran 50 miles with barefoot, like sick, But to me, I just think, wow, what an amazing thing. But I'm sure you probably had some people going, what an idiot, wear shoes, mate. But
I find there's quite a contrast. The female gymnasts that I coach were like, that's so stupid. Why just put some shoes on? Like, why are you even going for a 50-mile run anyway? Like, don't be so stupid.
I might say some of those things as well. Why would you do that?
All of the boys are just like, oh, have you done it yet? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, sick, let's go, Will. I'm like, yeah, come on.
I think that when you get feedback from someone who would actually understand how hard that is, what you're doing, you would never get that response from someone who actually understands how hard a 50 mile. I hate running, right? And a 5k run for me is a hard run.
Yeah.
So 50 miles, I fully appreciate that, and I just think that's insane, But you'd have maybe an overweight guy roll down his window with his McDonald's in his hand, going, "Hey, idiot, put some shoes on," or whatever, So most of the time, those opinions are so irrelevant as well.
Let's talk about that actually, because you said about surrounding yourself well with people who are just a little bit better than you, that lift you up, and you mentioned kind of removing the negative voices that constantly chat or learn how to switch off from them. So let's go to that person that is in that extreme comfort kind of crisis, to actually use I haven't read the book, by the way, but I know it's the book titled The Comfort Crisis. What do you think of those sort of conditions around someone that puts them in the opposite of not just being athletic, but kind of mentally being on top of themselves and their own levels of accountability and health?
Yeah, oh mate, I'm not really in a position to speak. I can give my 2 cents on it, but I don't really know how to get someone to that place. But I think a motivation, having something that I guess a why, why are you doing this? Why would I want to do it? Why do I want to get up at 5 in to go to the gym? Or whatever it is you have to do, because it's a stress. That's why it's the stress on it is hard to do. So yeah, I'm just really lucky that I really love something. So I think finding something that you're passionate about, it's got to be a bit of a key, is finding that thing that maybe is a bit harder but you enjoy. And whether that's going to the gym and lifting weights is really, I get quite a lot of pleasure out of it. But then I wonder, is that pleasure because I know it's going to make me a better surfer? What the deep down reason for doing it. So I think finding something that you genuinely love and enjoy, and not being too hard on yourself, I think is a big one. If you do slip up, or if you're just starting that journey, if you're coming from the couch, to wanting to be an adventure athlete or whatever it is, I think just not being too hard on yourself. You're going to have those off days that we've spoken about here,
Do you think there's a level of extremism, though, that not being too hard on yourself can be taken to, where it's too much self-acceptance, where it's like a apathy towards actually doing action?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. You can't just... If you're... everyone knows what a good situation is and a bad situation is. Like you know if you're overweight. Deep down, you know if you're overweight, and you know that you need to make a change. You know, so there's that thing of you need someone to be like firm but kind kind of thing, and you need to be like that with yourself. You know, be firm on yourself, be disciplined, but everyone slips up. You know, everyone has a bad day, and I think just not punishing yourself for those bad days, because and not going too hard too quick as well. It's a big one. Like you think, right, I'm going to make a change. Monday I'm starting my diet, and they start crash diet, and then they're in the gym 5 days that week, and then the next week they're done. You know, so I think genuinely baby steps and making changes for life. I've just started a nutrition plan actually with Mike's wife, and I've looked at the plan. I've just looked at it today, and it's pretty similar to what I do now. It's just it's a few changes, like whole food, way more towards whole foods and things like that. Maybe introducing a little bit more veg, and they're changes that I can make. They're not extreme. I looked at it and I thought, it's almost like a sigh of relief. I was like, that's doable, you know. So not trying to go too hard too quick. I think probably is from someone who I'm not qualified to give any advice about anything, but they're the things. Yeah, maybe on how to pop up, but just being a little bit kinder to yourself when you start, you know.
Yeah.
And not going too hard too quick. They're my two bits of advice.
So I want to ask you about, you said earlier actually, was the being in the ocean surfing has actually taught you a lot of lessons to take back on land. What's a couple of those you could break? I'm not going to give you like a number like 3 or 5, but just break down like a couple of like key or fundamental ideas that the ocean and surfing has actually taught you.
Yeah, there's so many. Probably that like if you think about what surfing is, right? You paddle out, you catch a wave in, then you paddle back out, and you catch. It's like the most pointless thing ever.
You said on rock climbing, it's like, why are you going to climb wall? Just come back down.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. But most things we do are pointless, right? You run in a circle or like whatever. You lift a heavy weight that there was no need to lift off the floor. But that kind of thing of just like, it's like this pointless thing that you find so much joy in. Like you boys were talking about like Sisyphus or whatever.
Yeah.
I went down a hell of a rabbit hole. It was like I was like watching loads of videos on it after, and I love that thing of just like it's like a constant thing, and you just have to find. I mean, surfing's lucky because it's really fun to do.
Yeah.
But I try and take that away and like find joy in like the monotonous things, because if you actually think about surfing, paddling back out, it's pretty monotonous. And then,
it's quite tiring as well.
For sure, right? So yeah, just finding the joy in that, and then
the joy in the struggle as well.
Yeah, and knowing that it's that, it's super cheesy, isn't it? But like there'll always be another wave, and like.
I know it's cheesy, but I think when you really understand the idea of like there'll always be another way, it's quite like a life-changing idea. Yeah,
and you're not going to be perfect on every wave. You're going to fall off. I fall off more times than I finish a wave, you know. If you fall off, you just go get another one. It's not the end of the world, you know. And I think that's a really good lesson for life. Like, just because you fell on one wave, it doesn't mean, there's no more waves ever again in the ocean. But people forget that. People go surfing and, I have a thing, especially around here. It's probably because I work at a local surf school, but I don't shout people off waves unless they're more than competent enough that they, and usually it's because I know them by name, because the surfing community is small. I don't shout people off a wave. If they've dropped in on me, I get enough waves, I'll go back out. But people forget that. People go in and they're almost after like a confrontation, if they get dropped in on, it's a massive deal, they're shouting, and it's like,
I've been there.
Hey, chill out. We're in Wales. The waves are terrible here. It's the worst place on earth to surf. Don't worry about it. There'll be another shit wave in a minute.
Yeah.
Just get back out. Like, chill out. So, I think and you learn to not take yourself too seriously. You fall off that much, and you end up in so many silly situations. And the ocean makes you feel pretty small sometimes.
It does. It's very humbling.
Yeah, a super humbling experience, and you get those throughout your surfing life or surfing career or whatever it is. So like. Doesn't matter how good you get, you'll still get humbled at times. So yeah, you just learn to like, bit of, you get humbled and you learn to chill out, man. Yeah, they're my lessons from surfing.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I've got loads from this podcast already, just listening to you talk about your experiences.
Yeah,
really interesting for me as a outsider looking in.
Awesome. It's got pretty deep, boys.
Yeah, always does.
It's good though. I like it, and yeah, keep up the pods, boys, because they're
Thanks,
good.
dude.
Thank you. So on that note, we've started releasing our programs. By the time this comes out, they should all be out on our True Coach app. Is that
Yep.
right, Taylor?
Yep,
You're in charge
pretty
of
much
that.
ready to roll.
Cool. So they're ready to roll. So by the time this is out, we'll have programs for sale for so many different sports. We've got surfing on there, as we've been talking about.
I'll check that out.
We've got a rock climbing program coming out. We've got one for becoming a firefighter. If you've listened, I've had a bit of background in the fire service.
Yeah, I heard.
So, yeah, that's going to be a really interesting one.
Martial arts.
Martial arts. We got loads coming out, so definitely check them out. We should have our first YouTube video out as well, which was me and Taylor putting ourselves through some brutal tests.
That was horrible. That was something that should have taken 3 days, not like 3 hours.
I should have spent a week doing that, not a day.
I felt really bad after that. I tried to train afterwards as well, and it just destroyed me.
Yeah, I went straight to work, so I was done. So yeah, we've got all that out, and yeah, keep checking out the podcast. We're making loads. We got loads of really interesting guests booked on, so it's only going to go up from here.
So, if you want to support Logan, then where's the best place to go and find you and follow you?
Oh, just get on the Instagram. Yeah, Instagram's the biggest platform for me. Try and get
What's your handle?
YouTube. Oh, just at Logan Nicol.
Yep.
If you want to.
And you're on YouTube as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I do have a little YouTube channel with my mate, but we haven't posted on there for a while. But hopefully.
Was that the Pagan Boys?
The Pagans Boys, yeah.
Yeah.
And Logan. Really creative name.
Love it. Wicked.
Yeah, if you can get me on there, that'd be awesome. I'm off to Portugal soon, so on Facebook there's a little crowdfunder if anyone is listening and fancies
That's sweet.
checking that
Go
out.
support them, guys. Seriously, you should be
Thanks.
proud that you have such an amazing shit officer from Wales to represent you. So go support him.
Yeah, stoked.
Right, you can lead us out of all usuals today.
Oh, so checking us out then. We've got all of our usual socials. We're just the Adventure Athletes on everything. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. We're on all platforms. Just check us out. Make sure you give us a follow. We'll be posting all of Logan's handles and ways to find him on there. And yeah, I think that's it.
And if you want to try the Average to Athlete program for free, you just have to simply go check out our link tree on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the normals, and you can sign up to True Coach there and start using that now today. Both a gym-based and bodyweight version, so you can train anywhere for anything.
What I will say to people, just last thing, is a plan. Having someone write a program for you is the best thing I ever did. So if you can get on this, even if it's just a generic workout plan, whatever it is, it takes the anxiety out of going to the gym and not knowing what you're doing. And like I said, I turn my brain off when I go into the gym, but I've also learned so much from doing a plan, and it's not just about like going in and just doing what it says. You know, you are learning too. So yeah, I haven't read your plan, so if it's rubbish, that'd be good. But I recommend doing one. You know, it's
We're
made a
just
big
putting
difference
it on you
actually.
now. To be fair, you've just sold it, so it's like,
Yeah.
There you
if
go,
it's
boys.
rubbish,
Free plug.
blame Logan.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, who adventures lives.
Thank you.